So I'm very dialed up on the imposter syndrome right now. Please treat me gently. I have spoken at IT service management conferences around and about. That's my background. So my background's not in coding. I'm coming from a different place. Mine's in service operations, service management, and in service centres and so on. So lots of very high volume environments, lots of production environment issues and stuff like that. And that's where I adopted Kanban some 9 years ago. So why am I telling this story? What's it all about? And again, so this I'll get it all out. Some people call it a context, but it might just be my excuses for, bastardizing something that's very well thought of in a different environment, and ripping it to pieces and putting it back together again. So, but why have this conversation? And why now? So. I've been inspired, really. I mean, the Agile community is an absolutely fantastic community. I've been doing meetups and so on in Manchester, where I'm from, and I often give talks there. And it does really inspire this community to share and be open. And it's all about openness and transparency. So I thought I'd put my 2 pence in. The subheading to this talk was about my self-improvement journey. And I get a lot of self-improvement by helping teams to improve how they deliver things. So a lot of the slides are about team boards and so on, and conversations we've had and progress that's been made. And for every time progress is made with a team, I absolutely learn something new and I improve myself, which is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant to be able to share that. This chap is one of the chaps that's inspired me to put the application, to put the submission in. So I discovered him last year. He gave a talk at Lean Agile Scotland. Jay Bloom introduced him, and he's a design professor, Cameron Tonkinwise, and he mentioned a few things that really sort of stoked my fire. The fact that he mentioned Mike Bulijewski's, if I say that right, paper, and you can see it on the West-based Journal, about Agile as a labour union, as a union, as a trade union, like the Agile movement. I mean, it sort of rings true. It's galvanised by a manifesto. But he spoke about it really being about, he sort of put the slant on it that it's us sticking it to the man or whoever, the people in authority, and telling them this is how we're going to do things. But actually what it spoke to me about was we all care about each other. There's a massive sense of caring. So whilst this is billed as the mean streets, actually it's a tale about caring and about love and about, loving who you work with. Loving putting stuff out there, and combating that sort of meanness. So yeah, it goes on about being hardcore unionists and so on for the post-Ford world, as he describes it, and he sort of eulogised about that we are this amazing community of practice. We are this hive mind of a learning organisation. He's a university professor, and he said he yearned for this much sort of interest and desire to learn out of students that roll past him. And that we're from all over the place. I mean, we'll be from all over the place. Just spoke to a chap there who's not even from IT and from construction. And this is all the types of people that come to these sorts of events to learn. And whereas he said everywhere else, and I was just talking to, we were saying at lunch, that you felt like this is a really open learning environment, and it feels like that. Whereas sort of Cameron was saying about when he goes to design events, it's just rockstar shows for people who love cool shit. And no one's really there to actually probe deeper, learn from other people, chat at lunch, all that sort of stuff about how we're going about doing stuff. It's just like, what's the best thing? But then he also came up with this challenge about if you are this amazing and we do all this stuff, we get stuff out there quicker, what we do, we're very empirical, it's all empiricism based, it's like test stuff. All the stuff that we know is that, we don't know anything until we've made it real and we've tested it, and then we can find out. So we want everyone to prove everything and prove everything. And we're very good at getting things out there quickly, useful things. So we should sort of live up to that and try and do some, find the higher purpose. I'm not going to get us all to sign up to something, do the higher, change the world right now, but it inspired me. There are a number of other people that inspired me to try this out. Mike Burrows. So Mike Burrows' book, Kanban from the Inside, is littered with the word humanity and humane. And that inspires me. That's what this is all about for me. It's about how we as humans can get together in groups, in teams, do team-shaped work and deliver stuff by treating each other nicely, by getting rid of the meanness, by challenging anyone who's mean to us and standing up for ourselves and standing up for each other. So other people on this 9-year journey, I was introduced to John Seddon by, I'll speak a bit about the guy on the bottom right. John Seddon was introduced me by Ian, not personally. He showed me some videos and gave me a book. And systems thinking really struck a chord with me. I hadn't read anything by Sengi or Akoff or anyone else at that point. In fact, I didn't even know there was a vocabulary around it. So it was really nice to be introduced to the writings and the videos of John Seddon. And Ian said, that's blown your mind, hasn't it? And it's like, it hasn't blown my mind. It's just given me a vocabulary and made me think that, I'm not this idiot on my own, just being a gobshite, excuse my French, which it seemed to be at the time, telling people they were wrong for doing it in a certain way, or not telling people they were wrong, but saying this is wrong, we're doing it in a certain way, and being seen as the heretic and the sore thumb and this, that and the other. So it was really nice to be introduced to John Seddon. And then on the other side of that scale, the nemesis of John Seddon, Dave Snowden, which I've only sort of, latterly in the past couple of years got to know about. Dave Snowden, we were both at a conference in, not Lithuania, Estonia, a couple of years ago, and I managed to see him and meet him. And that was brilliant, and really, got me thinking about complexity. And about, I love the fact that, systems thinking, theory of constraints, everything as a whole holistically. And then, Dave blows it out the water and goes, everything's going mad all the time, and just try and make sense of it. It's good to have both of those things. I think both of those things are good things to run with. If the context switches, if from wherever you find yourself, you can find some good advice through either of those. And they both love Kanban. So that's quite nice that they meet in the middle on Kanban. Gitta, I met a couple of years ago at London Lean Kanban Days, sat in on a workshop she was doing. The woman who introduced me to imposter syndrome. And it was nice to have a name for it, instead of just feeling like, shy and stupid and why is everyone listening to me? Or, if they are at all. And it was really nice. It took it up to another level of this community cares, and it's brilliant. At the same time, in the same workshop actually, I sat next to Mark Bergauer. Apparently loads of people know Mark Bergauer, and he's a very, very intelligent guy, and again, another caring guy, and he just got chatting to me, what do you do? Oh, I shouldn't even be here. I'm IT service manager, all right, so what's your interest? Oh, I like Kanban. Oh, how long have you been doing it for? Oh, well, Ian introduced me to it about 8 years ago, or whatever it was then. It's like, oh, that's only the year after the Blue Book was written. Well, yeah, but it's like, well, you've probably been doing it longer than all of these people have been doing it. Yeah, no, I don't code. And that, again, is just that affirmation, that sort of, validation by someone who you sort of expect. Because maybe because I'm from this mean world, I think, there's going to be a bit of one-upmanship here. But there wasn't. It was beautiful. It was absolutely brilliant. And since then, I've been following Mark and all the limbic, the emotional stuff that he puts out there. And then Ian. So I owe a lot to Ian. Ian was the guy who walked through the door when I was working at Money Supermarket. He walked through the door. They were having a big ThoughtWorks transformation to Agile, and you would think that might be era defining, but actually, you know, I think a couple of months after ThoughtWorks started, or maybe almost a year after ThoughtWorks started, I came in, and then a couple of months later, Ian came in, and actually the era-defining moment was Kanban man's arrived, and it was brilliant. He was everywhere, changing everything, and only because by asking questions and going, oh, you might want to do this, you might want to do that. Most importantly, you might want to stop doing a load of things, which was really good. And Ian's been there ever since, and there's a couple of slides in here that you are down to him. And you. So, like I was saying, again, eulogising myself, you all inspire me to be in these situations. This is about self-improvement. I would say there's been a number of people here today that I've heard say, this is my first talk, or this is my first talk at an Agile conference. I would say to you, if you've not, then set yourself that goal. Get up and have a talk. Be on this side of the desk. And if not here, then if there are meetups around, smaller versions of this, go and just test your thinking out. Because actually, you've all got your own story to tell. It is your version of something. It will help other people, just being able to see it in a different way. And like I say, it might sound twee, but this is a whole other way of working, and some people might have been doing it for 9 years, but I walk into places where people have never even thought about this and don't know the word, and some of those places where I walk into, what's beautiful for me about Kanban is that as an abstract word, it goes before you in an organisation because people like saying it. Kanban, Kanban, Kanban. They don't know what it means, and then a couple of days or a week later, they end up with Kanban's something to do with all these boards that are springing up and all these stickies. Well, that looks exciting, but it's brilliant. It is very revolutionary. It can also piss people off, but once they get to understand it, then actually it helps a lot of people out. And it is that thing about reducing it back down to human aspects. So we've got some the retrospective prime directive, an agile device. But I love the fact that that's what we state. That's what we say. This is what it's all about. There is trust in this room. So the problems are elsewhere. Let's go and find them. And this sort of stuff, I think it inspires me to say to other people, that's what we're about. Join in. So this has been. I've done this a couple of times before. It's a very different set of slides now from when I first did it. That was like a minimum viable talk. Now don't all shout at me that I don't know what minimum viable means and putting it in the wrong context. But it was very much that was something I did at the last minute for Ian at Lean Agile Manchester. He didn't have a speaker, so I started it then, and it was every single slide was a film, and it said something to me about the Lean Agile world. And a lot of people enjoyed it, and Ian, in his role as mentor to me, came up to me afterwards and said, yeah, that was all right. Put more boards in it. So I've put more boards in it. I'm a bit renowned to the people who know me for tweeting about and posting about boards. This is a very practical sort of session. There's probably been quite a few sessions that's about some high theory, all the cognitive biases and so on, which I find absolutely fascinating. I love it. But there are so many more better equipped people to chat about that. So mine's really much about here's how teams are coping with their work, and here's what's come out of it. than the conversations we've had in front of boards. So you will see there's some stragglers still in there from that deck of slides. So what do I mean by mean if I'm talking all about love and us being absolutely super? So we know what mean is: being horrible to people, not sharing, being spiteful, aggressive. So that's plain and simple. That's what I'm talking about. And there's a couple. This situation's maybe from more of a development delivery back sort of angle, and we've all seen it. Give me an estimate for cost. I haven't gathered the requirements. Just need. Some other people were talking about PMOs earlier today, you know, and their interactions with PMOs about just give me it, I need to put it in a report, and you know, we know what it's like. It'll get written in. And then it all starts getting a bit, that escalated quickly. Because there's two sets of needs. And this one's, you know, feels completely unreasonable and unnecessary and mean. I'll make some more. We've all seen the Dilbert cartoon. And it doesn't end well, does it? It just deteriorates relationships. So, like from my background, way back, it would look something more similar to this. No one's going to give me a project for this, but I want it. I'm going to shove it through production. So what can you do for me? Well, we are good people to come to. We are generalists. We can get something sorted for you. We could be all right, but you know, we're maxed. It's coming your way anyway. It's the archetypal push system that we absolutely just, you know, we rubber stamp it. This is what we're going to do. We're going to set up a service desk. You can log your own ticket. We're all about self-service. You don't have to ask for permission. Boom, 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 boom. Tickets, 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 tickets. And we actively encourage it. And then the stress begins. So everything's going to start breaking now. You're pushing this stuff at me. I don't care. I've got a way of getting around it. You know, actually we can do it so that you actually get what you want and no one else is put at risk and everybody's happy, and it will cost some money. It's not going to be a project. You're not going to have to go through all the governance. Nah, we transferred it off our book at the beginning of the year. It's on IT's books already. We've already paid for this. Shut up and get that job done. And that's, you know, there's more of these to follow, but that's essentially that meanness that I'm talking about. That sort of comes from ignorance. It sort of comes from, you know, it's not malicious. It's the not knowing. It's the not caring. So who do I work with to try and tackle some of this sort of stuff? So I would say, so if this is Agile, Kanban, so on, and this is software delivery, I would say, well, I'd ask actually, if I put it over there, what would the room feel about it being? Do we think it's there now? Do we think it's gone over to beyond mainstream? Do we feel like, I don't know, the landing of the big four, land and expand, sort of basically says that's where we're at now. It is of a fashion. You can buy Agile and it will eat you, and you can just pick it off a menu. Reasonable? So I think that, you know, I think that's sort of there. Oh, and this is one of the things that sort of suggests that to me, that whole sort of Agile umbrella, and this in itself is largely derided. I've seen in forums on the web and LinkedIn and stuff like that, you know, because it was one of the big four, it'll tell me at the end, I can't remember which one, that put this together. What are you doing putting our Agile together like that? We've called it an umbrella. Stop drawing it as a tube map. That's ours, it's not yours. But it's massive, isn't it? It's sprawling. There's so much of it now. There's so much to choose from. You can just go out and get it. It just takes forever to describe this thing. And over there into Bob's bit at the end there, leadership. Management 3.0, right shifting. Super. There we go, Deloitte. Deloitte is the one who put that on paper. So I would say this is where I'm coming from. Definitely sort of 9 years ago, dabbling in it, and then the Phoenix project came out, and more people are getting involved in it, more people are understanding what DevOps can be. The fact that we can all work together, and some of the devices that we do to use that to breed transparency, Kanban and so on, and it starts to push this way. So these are the people that are starting to look at it. It's sort of immature at this point in the past couple of years, and then these are the basically the people whose worlds are being shook by it are the IT service management resellers, the framework sellers. You know, they're getting on the bandwagon with Deloitte. So we have Verism springing up, which is talking about, it's like another rendition of the umbrella. It's massive. Actually, don't do one thing. Don't just do ITIL. Do lots and lots of different things. We've even got DevOps, Agile, and Lean down here. Get involved with everything. Sample all the stuff. Fit it around what you need. And I even had a little tiny bit of involvement about that in terms of talking to some people who were putting it together and saying, this is what I do, and I do this to help me deliver services, IT services in a production environment. But this whole world's turning mean now. Why do we need another framework? Why has this come about? Why can't we just update the old one? So ITIL's going through an update right now as well to turn it more agile. Clearly, the Agile community is onto something because everyone wants a bit of it. Everyone wants a bit of, let's make it more humane again. You know, let's actually talk to people. Let's try things out. Let's get feedback. Let's not just, you know, incur or inflict these processes on people. So one of the interesting things for me about this continual process improvement and all the things inside for ITIL, and one of the big things that it struggles with, you know, self-confessed struggles with, is this whole thing about the watermelon. Do we have an idea of what we've heard of the watermelon? So this is effectively the big anxiety from ITIL that has been for a long, long time, which is why it's sort of on the wane, is that it's all built around reporting. I suppose it's like the, you know, IT service management tools are like it's getting the whipping that Jira gets right now, as everyone sort of, you know, got really good at agile practices and then shoved it all in Jira, and then Jira made them all go really bad, so they got it all back out of Jira because it was used by people to report in a bad way, though. So the whole thing about ITIL, and it's ironic that that bit around the outside, it's a nice shape, is ITIL, it's always green on the outside. We're reporting green. We can, it's all okay. And cut it through the middle where all the work goes on. Boom. It's a pile of crap. We're all tearing our hair out. We've all made stories up to try and show green. You know, we've not shown you the whole story. So the watermelon thing is absolutely, it's a, you know, it's a tagline for ITIL now. And it's interesting to me as well that, so I just noted down the purpose to Agile for continuous service improvement, that this layer that goes around the outside that touches everything, that is another process, and it has a process owner, this one person and maybe one team that's responsible for that, logging all the things that we could improve. And the purpose is there, you know, it's about supporting business processes, improve process, blah, 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 process. I mean, and Kanban's catching up with the whole getting it sold sort of stuff, so it is coming out with more and more bodies of knowledge and more layers on top of it. And this is the latest, the Kanban maturity model. I'm talking here about working with these people that are this mature. Sometimes I might work with those people or try and get these people to that stage. That's a unicorn really for me. But the big difference in this for me is look at what it's talking about. Look at what its purpose is. Happy workers, happy customers, happy shareholders. relief from overburdening, improved transparency, improved collaboration, higher trust, greater empathy. It doesn't really talk about get your process better. It lives the process. So you should have better transparency, you should have better understanding, you should be pulling in the right way together, you should be working as a team. And I think that speaks volumes about this world. So as I say, this really for me, this is a lot of teams I work with at this stage. The lean term would be more, it's overburdening, it's pushing, it's a push system, there's too much work. You can be the most mature, CMMI, Prince2, ITIL, COBIT organisation, and you are absolutely shoving work down the throats of everyone in that building. In fact, most of those things shove more work down the throats of everybody in that building for no real benefit. And this is where I love getting in amongst, to be fair. So these are the people that I'm working with. But what is it I do with them? So there's 3 questions that I mostly rotate around. And again, it's like the 5 whys, I suppose. But it's like, until we can answer these questions, what else are we doing? And there are ways of finding answers to these questions. So are we building the right thing? Are we building the right thing? It's customers that will tell us what the right thing is. So are we interacting with the customer? That's our purpose, building the right thing for our customer, because building it for them is an investment. So by doing that, we'll get a return, and that will pay everyone's wages. So if we don't do that, they won't buy it, we're all out of a job. We need to be building the right thing. Are we building it right? Have we got levels of quality? Are we doing the stuff that we really care about? We're craftspeople. Are we doing the right stuff? We've got everything available to us so that we can build a good product that they want. And then, are we building it fast enough? And Kanban sits very much, in here. Probably Agile over here, but design thinking. But Kanban's definitely here, and it has a lot of traction here and a lot to give. The efficiency. Are we building it at a sustainable pace? Can we keep it up? Are we not getting bogged down by the things that aren't important? Are we not taking too much on? If we've got the breathing space and we're trusted, can we make all the right decisions? Can we visualize in such a way that we know everything that's going wrong, so actually we can make these decisions that we have to make from time to time in a really informed way? And that will give us a sweet spot of effectiveness. So those are the questions I ask when I've got this. So this is just a representation of a couple of places, a couple of very hard-working places that I've been. In IT service management, in their service management tools, they had, and this is what I'm talking about volumes. They had 7,500, one of these organizations, Organization A, 7,500 tickets. It's abstract, and it's like, well, did they have 7,500 people working on it? No. They had 20 people working, and they were completing sort of 1,000 tickets a week. But that was just going up and up and up and up, and had been going up for months. The average age of the ticket was 196 days. Now, from that, you can sort of feel that they'll be getting through the really quick tickets all the time. So they'll be closing stuff. There'll be stuff that does flow through. But these are just ever increasing. So those 2-minute tickets are offsetting the ones that were even open for 7 years, 10 years. What's going on? That's a particularly strange relationship with your customer there. Especially because at the point where I went in and went, right, let's get all of this out and let's understand it. They started ringing the customers up, and you could say, well, of course they're going to say that, but they said, yeah, I still need, half of them, or 90% of them said, didn't even remember that, or that person's left. But there was a huge set of them, comparatively, sort of realistically, that said, yeah, I still need that. Well, it's 7 years old. Strange, it was higher education, so, it moves in a slow way. In fact, it never moves. Universities have been the same for 1,000 years. But a weird relationship. Very weird. And then another, a local authority. A backlog of 4,000, average age 158 days. I've worked with some Agile practitioners who would say, don't worry about the age of these now. Don't work on those like that. Don't go about going, right, we're going to clear this from the oldest to the youngest. They would go, what's the value in that? What's the value there? In an IT service management environment, what I would say is, if you've spoken to the customer and they're telling you yes, you sort of have to believe them. I'd say that in an Agile way, actually. If they're saying yes, you have to believe them. You can test it out a little bit, you know. You can get them engaged, and if they then don't stay engaged, they don't want it. So yeah, you might want to. But actually, a lot of these people really did want that stuff that was never being given to them. It would move them on. I would say the act of getting a team to own that situation and clear that down is as valuable as anything that can come out of the product of those tickets. Because this is about, you know, it's the Miyagi stuff. It's if you're going to change your behavior, you need to change it on something. If you've got an active punch bag or wooden person to start practicing your karate on, start practicing it. Clear that down, own that situation, work it out. In one of these teams, I worked with one of the teams that was in this organisation and went in, and they were the worst performing team. They weren't. They were really good. They were really excellent, but it had gotten out of control, and it had gotten out of control the worse. So I went and I sat with them, spent a lot of time with them, and did things like, well, you know, let's go through that queue. Let's talk it through. Let's get them up. Let's see what it is. All right, so this one's like, this guy needs a computer building for some research that he's doing. Okay, ring him up. What now? Yeah, because that's the work. So start doing it. Let's get ringing him up. Ring him up, right, yeah, and got everything they needed to do. And, you know, a week later, it was done. It's just, if we're going to do it, if we're going to mean it, let's do it. Let's care about our customer. Let's get that stuff done. And then apply that to every other ticket that is either in that backlog or comes in from this point on. And let's get in control of it. If you need anything else, let's do it. But we've got to start behaving in the right way. IT service management tools. Again, just like Jira, you know, that is a Kanban system. It has queues that are backlogs. It has priorities that are classes of service. It has SLAs that are SLAs, so they are agreements. We have signed them. You know, it was interesting to me to come into a Kanban for software delivery, and you know, people like Dan Vaconti and watching the videos and all that, and start talking about, you know, well, from the data that we've collected, that we can see how fast we're delivering. Then we can start using some Six Sigma tools, and we can start to say we've got 95% confidence that we'll deliver to this date. Whack an SLA on it. It's brilliant. It's brilliant to hear that being used in that. For me, it was brilliant to see, well, there's a way of working out. All the organisations I went through before then, it was just like, here's an SLA, and it was just the same break-fix SLA from 1970 that first got put into the ITIL book. Well, now there's an actual device for working it out, so your team can optimise around what they're actually able to deliver. Brilliant. When I show that to people, when I show that could be the product of Kanban and working in this way, actually you can write an SLA that will set an expectation with your customer based on your capacity and capability, and then everyone's happy. It was revolutionary. It's brilliant. But they didn't know how to do it. They had all the devices there, but didn't know how to do it. And we do get a bit scientific. We get overly scientific. So there is all that good stuff that we can use these electronic systems. But, you know, as you all know, the atomic number for confusion. And I was hoping for a laugh there, but never mind. Thank you. But we do, and we get very you know, in Lean and Agile, we get very algorithmic, it's empirical. So we've got, you know, a lot of if-and statements. If you just do this, if you just do that, get this data, then it's all, we'll be on the road to performing. But we have to have room for emotions. We have to have a room for the softer side of things. And I use Kanban as a heuristic. So Cameron Tonkin has introduced me to the word epistemology. So we know these things will improve us. We know these are the right things to do. Over my years of using Kanban with teams, and just this, for the first 5 years of doing it, I was a salaried employee. I was just doing it for myself. I wasn't going anywhere, showing anyone. I didn't have anyone in showing me. I picked up the books, knew some people, went to some meetup groups, got some felt tips and some stickies and started doing it. And, it's a lot of it is the aggressive thing. A lot of people don't like violent analogies in military, but then I sort of think, that's human nature. This is what I'm talking about. We're all mean all the time to each other, and for no real reason. So I don't mind the military analogies. So Napoleon had one: march to the sound of the guns. You get on the battlefield. Where are the guns? Right, get there. That's probably where you want to be, because you can take out the guns and then you're all right. That's why he lost Waterloo, because the general who landed first didn't march to the sound of the guns. Hope I've got that right. Fact checking already going on from that. So another, this is the heuristic that I use. I think it's the US Marines. So they march to this tune. They find the high ground. Always stay on the high ground. Don't get so other people can see you. But effectively, it's like, give yourself a view. Put it out there. Get it out of the system where it's rotting and dying, where you can't make any decisions. Just get it out there. Put it on a wall. Look at it. Keep going. These are from the old slides. Keep going. Always moving. It's all about flow. Get the flow going and keep it going. Manage for flow. Here we've done it by reducing work and putting in WIP limits. Stay in touch. Communicate at all times. Tell people what's going on. Stand-up ceremonies. All the other stuff. These apply to anything outside of software delivery, software development, as anywhere else. If they can apply to a six-man squad of Marines, it can apply anywhere else as it applies in software delivery. And the big thing that I always sort of walk around and say is, show our working out. So this is probably another heuristic that, primary school teachers teach children. Show you working out. You might not get the right answer, but if I can see how you've worked it out, then I can have some input. I can teach you what you're doing right. All of the organisations that I've started going into, I use that now. I've landed on that as my tagline. We're showing our working out. Anyone can interact with this. If your customers, a lot of these, customers are mean because it's too risky for them to get involved with. It's too risky for them to care. They've got a framework. They can log tickets. You have to do it. And then when you don't do it, then they can blame you and it's all okay for them and you're rubbish. But if you start showing them how you're being affected, if you start putting all your work out on a wall, like those things, then you're showing them working out in a place where they can walk past and it's open to them and it's transparent. Anytime they go past, you can invite them down. You can sort of say, well, this is what we're doing, and this is what we're doing in that order, and that's where it's up to, and that's why it's not gone on there. And they can then, like anyone, they can tell you why you're crap. And then you can go, why, how would you have done it? Would you have done it any different? And if they can't tell you how they would have done it any different, then we can go, this is the situation and maybe want to do something about it. If they can, which is amazing, then you can go, brilliant, we hadn't thought of that. It's probably because they had some other context, or they had some other knowledge that they hadn't shared with you, but it solves the problem, doesn't it? By showing our working out. The teacher can then teach us something new. So with these teams as well, I believe there may have been some sessions on this. I think there was one, I saw one on the thing about static. It's on now. So a systems thinking approach to introducing Kanban. And those are the stages. When I go into teams and environments with high volumes, I use reverse static. It's this heuristic thing. It's just, I know this is going to work. So I start with a Kanban system, and a Kanban system to me means visualizing and start limiting WIP, start limiting the work in progress. It's easy to do. It's fairly easy to do for me because these people are struggling with, they might have an individual queue of their own of 80 tickets. It's like, stop doing that because you are doing nothing about those 80 tickets. You're doing a few of them every day, and then they get joined by another, and you just do the ones that are, that are entering into the stream, and you're not doing anything about this 70. So we're going to cut that in half. Usually what I say to people, I use multiple avatars. I'm all right saying that now. 5 years ago, I would have got tutted at. But I give people multiple avatars. It's arbitrary. I sort of start with 5, or sometimes I start with 3. But if they're doing 20 things, I go, let's quarter it. We're gonna cut down the maximum amount of things you can do. The maximum amount of things you can focus on right now is 5. I'm looking at Agilistas now. The thing is, they break those rules. It's a whip limit. It's the first whip limit they're comfortable with. If I start putting a hard red cross on some of that work and say nothing's coming into this channel, even though Kanban states it's evolutionary, that would be revolution, and that would be heresy, and I would be taken out into the town square and beaten up. But design that Kanban system. Get it up on a wall, get it visual, and start limiting that whip through avatars. We already sort of have classes of service because we have priorities, but there are some things that fall outside of that because that's like just the log work, and there's loads of other stuff that we have to do. So we discover that stuff that comes in at short notice from projects, or or the fallout from maintenance, or that we've never done, or fallout from P1 incidents and problems and so on. Discover the other work and name it and give it a priority that you haven't currently got. Because if you haven't currently got it, that's why everything's building up. And then use data, map that against how much demand and capability you've got. Then you can start to truly understand the source of dissatisfaction. Not the everyone says we're shit, excuse me. Everyone rubbishes IT, everyone rubbishes IT operations, everyone rubbishes IT services. You can actually get to the bottom of, well, why are they feeling that way? This is where we're not performing. And then you sort of get this understanding, which you should have had in the first place, about what the purpose of our system is. We're here to deliver work at pace, the right stuff, in the right way, at a sustainable pace. And then you can follow it back down. Limiting whip. So John, we mentioned this earlier, didn't we? This is cause for, people throwing you out the window if you're not sensitive about it. So as I said there, it's like, multiple avatars, way before a hard and fast whip limit. First hard and fast whip limit maybe on a next before you pull something in to your value stream, maybe on a next column. So you get people used to prioritizing at least then what that backlog is. And so you can't have everything in this backlog, pick 3 things. And that's as many as you can have. I have of late started talking to everyone about Little's Law. And I find the drop of water, Little's Law, a good, people get it. So this is about whip, throughput, and lead time. So how much you're putting through something, how much is in that system already, and then so how long will it take? The thing about the work that we do, knowledge work, providing those services, and this equates to HR, finance, any corporate function, is that it's perishable. If you don't get it back to someone quickly, they find something else that they wanted you to do. They've been to another conference and got another idea. They found a loophole in the system so they can get it, but maybe in an insecure way, and then they don't come back to you, or they're coming back to you with a request built on the workaround that they've put in place themselves that is insecure, and it all starts getting too chaotic. So, what this actually says is if you had a drop of water, a molecule of H2O, and you've got, in this closed system, you've got 2 litres an hour of water going into that bucket and 2 litres coming out. You've got 20 litres in there. You use this simple equation. And to refresh all of that water, to get all of that water out of that system, it's going to take 10 hours. If you have less water in there, if you have 5 litres, the equation works out at 2.5 hours. So the work's going through more quickly. And there's less of it actually in that system at any one time. Well, you do want work to go through quickly. You want to deliver quickly. You want to clear the decks before another set of work comes in. The other amazing thing, and it's a side effect, and I've tried to soften this sometimes when I've posted about it, when I got caught out by the lean people, is the massive side effect of that is there's far less task switching. If you've got less in there, the management of keeping everyone up to date about what is in there, and this is it as work, is far less. You don't have to put things down. You don't have to go, oh, right, this person's ringing me about that. So you actually, again, it doubles down. You get more and more done. And the work that you're doing isn't about just cultivating and expectations around the work that's in play. So you can get more work done. It is the lean Little's Law people say it's not about doing more work faster. It's about doing work faster. You get more work done faster. So Kanban, and David Anderson, I suppose one of the people who's most renowned for Kanban software, he equates it when people say, Kanban, I don't know, John might be able to say something about this, but Kanban versus Scrum or Kanban and Scrum. And I would say they're completely different things. Kanban is about improvement. It's an improvement tool. They're both sort of diagnostic tools, but Kanban is absolutely about improvement in the same way as John Boyd's OODA, in the same way as Deming's or Stewart's cycle, and in the same way that this is supposed to be, but isn't, the ITIL, but isn't. So because what happens there is you get a person assigned to doing it, and what you need to do is cultivate it and give them a tool, and this is the tool. So a Kanban board will do it for you. In this one here, this was from it represents one of the boards that I set up in an organisation where they had all this different types of demands. So one of these, so say this is operations work, this is risk, this is service improvement work, and this was work that we always get landed in operations from projects, so we just need to do this, just need to plug that in and so on. I'll give me some space on that. So this is this thing about the ITIL stuff, about the service operations stuff. They would set up teams for risk, they would set up teams for service improvement, and those teams would log those things and try and, it's probably a bit like a PMO for projects. They're trying to understand the magnitude of this other work. Well, that just needs to be done there. So these people in that organisation were managers of that. They had teams, so there was a massive investment, and then they just kept coming. So I was asked to come in and build a service delivery team that came from 4 faculties from around an area, and bring them all together and centralise them. In that restructure, they got set up. Matt, we can't get any of this stuff done. So we only own it. We don't deliver it. We haven't got our own teams to deliver it. Right. Well, I'll tell you what, my teams will do it, and we'll do it in this proportion, and we'll set it going through this, and we'll help you clear your logs. But again, to be honest, it's like, well, it's a waste of time having them. We need that built into how we deliver work and into our culture. And in that, well, this is a couple of different organisations. So this would be that the organisation A that had all of those backlog tickets. This is when we introduced Kanban, and then that was the result of just the focus, the limiting of WIP to get through the work. And this was another organisation, but there was a team doing a lot of service requests, so a lot of like known work change. They were using, I think, 4 contract staff. Within 3 months, I could release the contract staff, and sort of 6 people now instead of 9. No, do the math. 5 people now instead of 9 could then start to just get on this road of doing more and more and more and more and more. And the nice triangulation on anything that you do and any other data that you get is how do your customer feel about that? And that was pretty high, really, at the time. It was fantastic, and it was based on thousands of people responding. So, it's not like an 8 out of 10 cats thing. It's not like a L'Oreal one. It's a sizable test group. So, and for me, here's the fun bit. I don't know how long I've got, sorry. So these are real boards. So a delivery team, a software delivery team, but doing BAU, so they didn't know, what's BAU? Well, it's all the shit no one else wants to do. It's all the legacy systems. So, we're re-platforming for, we're doing a transformation over here, and we're going to re-platform our web presence. So we've got 14 people doing a tiny amount of work, and then you've got all the legacy systems, and there are 2 of these people and a tech lead, and they've got, sort it out. And they were awash. So the first thing I did was, let's not do all of that, because it's not happening. And it was amazing. It absolutely revolutionised them. All the problems were still there, and this is the thing about Kanban being a diagnostic tool. It'll tell you what your problems are. But what happened was they didn't feel they had to solve it all. Their morale shot up. You've articulated in a way. You've shown the working out, Matt. So if anyone wants to get involved to help us, everyone can see that it's irrational for it to be on our shoulders. So this is the pace we're going to go at, and we're not going to burn out and go crazy. This is a Revs and Bens system. So this is a local authority with a team looking after. Sorry, it's all scruffy. I asked them to tidy it up before I took the photo, but I didn't have time. So these have multiple avatars at this time on here. The work was split into mandatory and elective work. Prior to this is a few weeks down, a couple of months down the road. Prior to us starting to limit WIP and us getting some of the benefits out of it, there would only be pink work over here. That's the mandatory. They hadn't done any elective work since the year before. Where every time there's a year end, they get flooded with mandatory work to reconcile, to getting all the tenancy rates and pay it all out as or submit a file to the DWP for benefits. You're welcome, thanks. And when we got them set up, we called down their main stakeholder, which was the lady who ran the Revs and Bens team on another floor, the actual sort of business function or service. And it was, it was a very interesting first stand-up in front of her. Once we'd get it all set up and they were comfortable that it described their world, I went, right, get it in front of Alison. Alison came down, the colour drained from her face. She went there through the sort of the stand-up, which is prolonged, went back up, sent the head of IT a glowing, red-hot, horrible, it's like screamed from the other side of the desk when he opened it up, email saying how disappointed she was that we hadn't done any of the work. And he turned to me and went, Matt, what have you done to me? This is awful. And I went, well, what is she going to do, Phil? She now knows what's going on. Before, she thought it was all sweetness and light. Now we've shown her working out. She knows she's got a load of problems. I said, the good thing is she's accepted for the next meeting. So, let's see what we can do when she comes back down. She came back down, this was 2 weeks later. She looked at it again, she'd calmed down, the emotion had gone out. She took, I think it was about 10 of the pieces of work off that board, pieces of work that her team had passed down to them because that team could do. The systems team could do it. Her team could do it as well, but the systems team could do it. So they were stopping them from getting to the work that only they could do because they're a systems team. And she took it back off. And right at that point was, you've become one team now, so you're caring about each other. She's taken that work back, she's getting her people to do it because they can, and now you can get at the work that she needs you to do because only you can do it. There's value. And it was brilliant. Office 365 and desktop team, built in a similar way. This was at University of Manchester. Every year they have to do a full refresh of their desktop, put in all the new teaching and learning stuff. All has to be updated from the academics who say this is what I'm going to teach this time. And it'd never been run with Kanban. And since after this, we started updating it in colours so we could see stuff a bit better. But this was a case of just putting in that channel. Prior to, this is the stuff that's the refresh. This is all BAU, their support work. And if you can see there, it's like, it's mostly being dealt with. There's no orphaned work above there. They're getting on with that stuff. You could see down here, there's a load of work that's orphaned, that's not getting done. They'd never actually been, I think up until this point when we started doing this, and I said, right, well, let's split it off, let's get it over there, let's see what the trouble is. And I went, what's going on here? And then they just started telling us all the things. It's like, well, get the project manager in. Project manager hadn't even visited them, just over the phone or by emails. And there was a project manager responsible for this, to support them, to give them help. Got that person in, and then it all started to flow again. But again, it's just about, out of sight, out of mind. You can't unsee stuff like this. You have to tackle it then. This is an infrastructure team. So a lovely story about this. When I set this up, and I said to this team, so this is an ops team, a service management team. This was at Stockport Council. They were having a big transformation down one end of the room. Down my end of the room, everyone was saying like, oh, those happy, clappy people up there, all agile, or, standing up and clapping each other and being nice to one another, it makes me sick. So, showed them a bit of love as well. So same thing to them, got them up, got them in front of their board, got them seeing what they were, what they were actually trying to achieve and got people involved with it. The lovely thing about this was I then handed it over to them and said, right, so you can all do a stand-up now, you can all take it, you know how to do it, you know what we'll run through, I'll stand at the back, you start doing it. The first person to do it was a chap called Sige. He did some SQL stuff. He was the only person who did SQL. He didn't do anything else. They brought him in because they had a need and no one else did it. They lost some expertise. And he was the quietest guy. Never said boo to a goose. Yeah, I'll do it. First one to get up. First one, showed them all how to do it. All the gobby ones like, oh, I don't want to do it. Sige got up and did it. It was brilliant. Service desk. This was a nightmare. Service desks usually are. Ian Carroll always used to say to me, when he first met me at Money Supermarket, it's like, oh, that service management tool, get all that out, get it on a Kanban board. It doesn't work that way. Keep it in there. Just bring out some of the stuff that's the worst stuff and start talking about it. Keep everything else in that tool. Like I say, you don't need to kill them with Kanban. So this wall is basically their project governance. So their stage gate review process. So again, this isn't an agile thing. We've got agile work in here, and we've also all the gold tickets are like waterfall projects. The massive thing about this is though, this is everything that IT's got on. Again, it's showing the working out, so we can engage with stakeholders. The first impact of that is the stakeholders, the service owners walk past and go, oh, I didn't know you were doing that much for us, because we don't talk to each other. All the towers don't talk to each other, and wow, now I understand the context of why this is so difficult for you, because you're juggling so many things. It's also allowed us to map out and have in front of us what their stage gate review process was, and it was heavy governance. And it was like, well, this is disabling. Right, well, now we've put it on a massive big wall, and we don't just, actually we're not just seeing parts of it in certain forms we have to fill out, we're seeing it in its totality. Actually, we can see how debilitating it is. Maybe we should make some changes to that, because this shouldn't be this difficult. So that transparency adds a great deal. CRM implementation, where they wouldn't do any testing. They couldn't get anyone to do any testing for them. I love this. This was, so when I posted this up, I don't know how much time I've got, sorry. What are we on? It's 3 o'clock, right. Last one then, that's all right. This team were struggling to get people testing from the business. They were putting in CRM from all over the business. No one wanted to test. I spent 2 weeks saying to them, but you haven't shown them what it is. You've got 2 cards maybe on here that say testing. I said, well, show me what the test plan is. Show me what all of those things they have to do are. Oh, all right, yeah, so it's all right. I'll write it out for you, I don't care, who's going to do this? And then someone, felt a bit ashamed, so they said they'd write it out. It took us 20 minutes, we wrote it out, we stuck it on a wall. You weren't allowed to put anything on walls in this place, they just had it done. They wanted to be like Google, not knowing that Google would work like this. But we stuck it all on the wall. And the next day, when they had a stand-up and they brought the main sponsor in, it's like, whoa, what's all that? Well, it's all the testing that's actually got to be done. Before, you keep asking me when it's going to get delivered. It's like we could deliver it now, but obviously we haven't got any confidence in it. But to have confidence, we need this. I'll sort it. And they went away and they got people on it. Because now they could see. It's that mad thing, isn't it? It's like, they know that it is this piece of work and it has this magnitude. But until they see it, until you spell it out for them, these pieces of paper and felt tip and that 20 minutes was worth its weight in gold, because then it got done. And then we could move it forward. I think I've got loads more. Sorry. This is a favourite, and this will be the last one. So this was a team of town planners. There was a cautionary tale about one local authority that bordered onto the local authority I was with, that spent 2 years doing a local plan. And then they didn't get the rubber stamp for it at the end of it, and they had to go through that whole 2 years again. And that was the cautionary tale, and everyone was very, very frightened of doing that. And they pulled together these teams of experts that are very, very introvert and don't like to, talk to them. This is my expertise. So what everyone's at risk of is getting highly optimized one of these channels, like one expertise, one thing will get done really, really well. And you need to have that broad spread of everything being done to get the rubber stamp. So we just started mapping out and I started asking them questions about, well, what is the big plan? Where do you have to get to after 2 years? And they just started to understand what the minimum acceptable criteria was. Well, just do enough of that and then get other people and then start doing the other work and always have a balance of what you've got to achieve in the pipeline at any one time. And this, it's quite nice. It wasn't a piece of software, but it was a physical thing that at the end of it, I got them to there. So that was 12 months worth of work to the issues and options. And they were like, this is the most amazing. They turned out to be the evangelists that took it through all of the other services within that local authority, even down to community volunteering work. So the takeaways, large volumes, I'd use reverse static, be sensitive about limiting WIP. They have decent tools, they don't know how to use them. Don't replace it with another tool. Don't get them into your tool. Don't go, oh, we've got Jira or Kanban or whatever. Just get it out on a wall. Start talking about the basic things. It's a sense-making and diagnostic tool. So if they've got a team that does service improvement or risk, get them to help you build risk and service improvement into all of the other teams using a tool like this. Get that work done through these sorts of tools. And it works in every single complex service environment. Can't get it going anywhere. Cynefin the cocaine of Agile at the moment, so you can't go anywhere without getting some Cynefin in there. But it helps you, Kanban will help you move things around this framework. So I would say that the 7,500 backlog tickets, which are like service requests and incidents, which you've got a best practice to deliver that in ITIL, and you've gone absolutely out of control, I would say that you've moved into chaos, and that's why chaos is next to obvious, because it's just blown up. This Kanban is the tool that can get you back around here and back into obvious. If it needs to be obvious, it might just stay as complicated. Enjoy those results. And there's some lovely endorsements from the people who it really let shine. They were the ones that were going to take the risk, and if we didn't pull out the results, then they would have felt it. But glowing endorsements. So that's improvements that have been made, which has helped me improved. And has got me up here in front of you, out of my comfort zone. So thank you. I'll let you go now.